Um, is this the seminar thing?
Yeah, you got it. This is Ava.
Oh, my audio's on. Sorry.
It's okay. Hilarious. For people who've just arrived, we're just waiting for a few more. And I've got some questions highlighted at the top. So just think about that. Maybe you can share your thoughts about any three of those if you have any. So that's what we're just waiting for a few more.
Hi, good morning. Hi, guys. Yes, I think right now we can start. I already informed the students, which we already have. A couple they are in China and also have some connecting issues. So, but I believe I will record this meeting first. So when they are ready, I after this today's meet like a seminar, I gonna also post to the our channel as well.
Cool. Great.
Thank you, Gary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No worries. So we start with that first question at the top. What are your thoughts on AI and its use for school and life generally? Anyone? Your thoughts on AI and its use for school and life generally? We're gonna have a quiet crowd. Um, that's okay. We don't need too much talking. Iris, cool. Thank you, Iris.
Yeah, well, I think that like AI, like it's good for certain things, like shortening certain processes, so like learning processes, maybe or like brainstorming. But I don't think that it should be used to like replace completely your work or your writing. For example, I know a lot of students they like to use like they just like to generate their own essays, but I think it just lowers their critical thinking and like it's just so harmful in like a bunch of different ways. So I think in that sense, like it's just the way how people use them.
Sure. Yeah, and definitely that's what we'll talk about, like how to approach it. And yeah, the consequences of using it, because it's twofold. One, your impact on your own development intellectually and physically on your brain, but also how it's quite obvious for most teachers. Increasingly, teachers are really familiar with its styles and patterns, and it's very obvious in most cases when students are using it. So we'll talk about both of those things. Um, Anyone, what's the most impressive thing you've seen AI do recently? Has anyone seen something really amazing or incredible that AI has done? One thing I can say, a current bestseller, a book, a novel that's very popular is was co-written with AI. So that's a thing. There's even films that have won awards that have been entirely generated by AI script writing and AI computer graphics. So that's pretty incredible. Anyone else?
I know there's a technique that you can just use AI to detect like tumor by scan the image where like the person.
Wow, so it can scan the image and detect humor, you're saying? Like if something's funny or not?
No, no, tumor,
Oh my
the
God, tumors, like medical testing.
yeah.
Wow. Yeah, totally. Yeah, I mean, I think, and I've also read, to go with your point, that the medical imaging is superior to that of a human technician. So you would almost prefer to have a robot look at something or AI rather than a human technician. They have more success. So totally. On the other side, can someone tell me what is AI slop? What's AI slop? What's slop, Iris? AI slop.
So basically it's like I think it's like one of those AI generated memes or like it's like overconsumption of AI. I don't know how to explain it, but it's just really low quality AI that's made to catch attention from the general public. So like one example I can think of, maybe it's like the Italian brain rot memes, like like I don't know, like tongue sour or something, right? Like I think
Okay.
that's like an example.
Yeah, I mean, basically, it's AI garbage that's basically low quality. So, images that we've seen a million times, writing that's really boring, predictable, uninteresting, memes, images, whatever it is, it's just so unappealing and so boring and so dull, and it fills up our spaces, our digital spaces, and increasingly even our schools, right, where teachers increasingly look at AI slop. And that's honestly what a lot of the work that's being generated is that teachers look at. It's almost equivalent to garbage. If the student's reading level is lower, so if your level is not that high yet, and you're a developing writer or a developing speaker, or your first language is not English, a teacher can almost immediately recognize when something's just AI slop or AI garbage, and maybe you can't tell, right? Because it looks great, like grammatically and clarity wise and sentence structure wise, it looks great. But for a teacher, it's like, wow, that's slop, that's garbage. Like it's so bad, it's so predictable. Um, so yeah, we're going to talk about that too. Okay, so something that I would assign to like a grade 10 student for writing an essay is something like this. Is social media good or bad? Okay, so what I'm going to show you is I wrote an introduction for this question to an essay. Okay, and then I'm going to say the advantages of that, and then I'm going to show you the exact same thing as prompted by ChatGPT. And then we're going to compare what mine does well and what theirs does well, and then we'll explore this issue more deeply. Okay, so this is my introduction written by me, a human being. Okay, so is social media good or bad? There was a time when people didn't stare at their phones when riding the subway or walking down the street. There was a time that if you wanted to know something, you had to take a trip to the library or ask a trusted friend. There was a time people were more open to risk or challenge. But I believe social media addiction has created a place full of people who crave safety and predictability. Instead of risk and living a life full of creative expression and taking chances. This essay will demonstrate that social media has robbed us of the things we can't even imagine: passion for life, acceptance of risk, and a drive to make meaningful lives. Replaced with what? A comfortable yet numb life dominated by social media scrolling, aimless and empty. Okay, so this took time. Like, even though I'm a native English speaker who teaches English, that took me time. I had to think about that and write it out. But you know what? It was also fun. I put myself into that. It has my voice. It's my creative fingerprint. And each of you, as you learn to write, will have your own creative fingerprint. And each writer is unique and special. And just reading one of your essays written by you, I understand something about your writing style. right? It's uniquely yours. And you'd be surprised by how quickly your writing voice can develop. Obviously, it's very obviously human to readers of a certain level. Okay, so obviously it's different. And I mentioned before, if you're just learning English, or you might not be able to tell an AI essay versus a student one. And some teachers can't. But like I said, it's increasingly becoming very obvious. So let's look at the ChatGPT version, right? So I asked ChatGPT, write a grade 11 essay on whether social media is good or bad. Just the introduction. I'm not going to read the whole thing. And this is what it produces. Social media has become a major part of everyday life for teenagers and adults alike. Platforms such as Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube allow people to communicate, share ideas, and stay informed about events around the world. However, they have also been criticized for contributing to problems such as cyberbullying, misinformation, and poor mental health. Although social media has many benefits, I believe negative effects often outweigh its advantages unless it is used responsibly. So, can someone tell me, like, what is good about this AI generated essay introduction? It's very well organized. Okay. It's very clear, and it's very there's no mistakes. It's kind of flawless in its execution. AI loves to make sentences of a similar length, and it likes order and organization. And so it does that very well. Structure, logical flow of ideas, clarity, grammar, vocabulary, all of these things it does very well. But what's missing? There's no personal experience. There's no surprising insights. There's no unique voice. There's no risk taking, and there's no originality. Okay, and we're going to get into that about how AI does this and how you can counteract that. Okay, so when I thought of that question, I also talked a little bit about mental health, about how it robs us of our passion for life, but it's a little different than that. And so if 30 students ask a chatbot to just brainstorm, most people think brainstorming is fine, and it is, but it's going to give you the same answers. Tell your teacher that social media is bad because of cyberbullying, misinformation, and poor mental health. So you already, all the students are going to, even if you write the essay, all the students are going to use those same key ideas. What do you think the teacher's going to think when they read those same 3 key ideas? This is boring. This is inauthentic. This is probably AI. So even if they're not certain that the chatbot wrote it, they know that you're not really thinking very much, and they're bored and they're uninspired, and you're going to get a lower mark. Okay, so even though it's executed perfectly, it's incredibly dull, and they're most likely, even if you didn't use AI to write it, just brainstorm, other students are going to have the exact same ideas. Okay, so that's a huge problem, right? Oh, I lost my share there. There we go. We're back. Let me just get that back up. Okay, so just a couple of things about AI I want to get into. So what AI actually is. Okay, so first, AI is actually not thinking, it's predicting. Okay, so every word it generates is basically just statistically the most likely word that's going to come next from billions of examples. Okay, so if I say peanut butter, and most English speakers are going to say jelly, peanut butter and jelly, right? That's what AI does. It's just more sophisticated, right? It uses mathematics in order to predict what is the most likely sentence. Okay, but it doesn't understand anything, right? It has no experiences, no opinions, no beliefs, no emotions, no curiosity. It's just predictive. It's just predicting, just like when you type and it finishes your email or finishes your sentence, that's all it's doing. What is the most likely next word? Okay, and it does sound really smart. right? It's absorbed all the books, the newspapers, the websites, the essays, everything from Reddit, Wikipedia, scientific papers. It has absorbed patterns from all of them, right? So it sounds intelligent because it had millions of examples, right? But intelligence isn't understanding. And here's the danger, right? One, you're outsourcing your thinking. And this is the most important point, or the thing that I want you to get more than anything else. Writing is not just communicating, it's thinking. Okay? When you struggle to write, when you struggle to organize an idea, when you struggle to connect two concepts or explain something, your brain is literally building neural pathways. Neural pathways are brain connections that you'll be using for your life. So if you're a teenager or a young adult, your neural pathways are actively being built. And we know that neural pathways can be built throughout a lifetime. But when you're a teenager, they're being built at a very quick rate. So if AI is doing all of your critical thinking, your brain isn't. Okay? And you might think, well, who cares? But imagine going to the gym and instead of lifting weights, your friend does it for you. Who's getting stronger? Right? It's not you. AI is doing all the mental weightlifting. You're not actually using your brain. You're getting results, you're getting answers, but you're developing none of the critical thinking skills. And that's something that is going to serve you for a lifetime. It's going to impact all aspects of your life, not just your schoolwork. So another very famous example is the taxi cab study. So this is a research study done a few years ago, and they took older taxi cab drivers who never used GPS and younger Uber drivers who only use GPS. And they measured their brains under a scan. So the drivers who don't use GPS have sophisticated spatial reasoning development in their brain. Like very sophisticated. It's a whole area of their brain that the Uber drivers who use GPS did not. That part of their brain was essentially turned off, or it was never activated. So the decisions that you make in your day-to-day life are going to activate and create space in your brain that allow and permit and make it easier to think critically. But just like getting muscle, if you're not working it out, you're not developing it. And you're not always going to have the ChatGPT there to answer something like in the moment. And even if you did, as we mentioned before, it's not going to be that special. Everyone else at your school, if they use ChatGPT, is going to have the same idea. And if you're in a business environment, you're going to have the same idea as the person beside you. That's not a good thing, right? So there's lots of problems with AI, but the key point is that you're literally not developing the neural pathways in your brain in order to become a sophisticated thinker, right? The other point is that AI generates the average, right? As I mentioned before, it only predicts the most probable outcome, right? So it moves towards average ideas, average wording, and average opinions, right? It's because unusual ideas are statistically uncommon, right? AI doesn't do that. It doesn't like things that are uncommon. It wants predictable. What does that mean for your work? That your work is boring, that your work is average, that at best, you could be a B student. And you could say, well, I've gotten an A from submitting an AI thing. But eventually, or at times, good teachers or technologically more in tune teachers are going to catch that. Right? So it's a real risk. And like I said, you're just getting an average, maybe a B in terms of thinking. Right? So if you ask AI, write a speech about courage, it's going to talk about overcoming obstacles. It's going to talk about believing in yourself. It's going to talk about never giving up, which is perfectly fine, but it's perfectly average. And like I said, if everyone prompts, even just as a brainstorm, write an essay or tell me about overcoming or about courage, it's going to give you very similar ideas. Okay. So innovation comes from breaking patterns. Thinking, interesting essays, something that makes someone want to read is when you break a pattern. But AI is only patterns. That's all AI does is recognize and make more patterns. So as humans or as students, you want to break patterns. You want to be creative because that is what's going to catch your teacher's attention, especially if your classmates are all using it. Let's say they're not using it to write their essays, but just to brainstorm. There, even that is going to impact your ability to stand out. Everyone knows this, but I think it's important. AI hallucinates, right? Meaning it makes mistakes, but it makes them confidently. It's going to use facts and quotations and sources and statistics, and it's going to look correct. But in many cases, it's not necessarily true. Okay? When a student is not sure about something, they use cautious language. When an AI is wrong about something, it's confidently incorrect. Yes, that's right. Yes, I'm certain. This is how it is. Even if it's totally and completely and absolutely wrong. Okay, so that's a problem. And especially when it comes to references or footnotes or endnotes or crediting sources or quoting things, the AI is going to put that on your essay. It's going to sound very confident. And in many cases, and actually most cases, it will be wrong. AI is horrible at sourcing material, at footnotes, at endnotes, which, by the way, is absolutely required in university and should be required in high school. And if it's not, your teacher is not challenging you, and that's a problem too. But the point is AI can't do those things. Maybe they can do them well in 2 or 3 years. Maybe they can't. But the point is it confidently makes mistakes. Once your teacher sees that, oh, this is a mistake, and it's said so confidently, immediately they're going to know it's AI, right? So AI is not the villain, right? Obviously, we're going to have AI working with us for a long time. So as I mentioned, brainstorming, explaining a difficult concept, checking grammar, generating practice questions, summarizing long text, studying, learning languages, getting feedback, right? These are all kind of useful things. But remember, they have their own consequences, right? Are you using it for brainstorming? It's giving the same answers to someone else in your class. The same talking points or the same essay ideas or the same key points. Okay. Explaining difficult concepts. If you read something and don't understand it, and then you just say, AI, tell me, that's really fast. That's really efficient. You're also not working out your critical thinking. Okay. So there's 2 parts to this. There's your brain not developing critical thinking skills, which is a real problem. And then 2, just helping you get your work done faster. So those are 2 things. If you want to use these things to get your work done faster, yeah, I mean, do it. Life is busy. But if just consider the fact that you're also undervaluing your critical thinking. It's not developing it in any way. And so even these tools, which are acceptable, aren't necessarily ideal in the long term. Like if you're having it brainstorm for you so that you can have an extra 2 hours to scroll on your phone, like that's not a good idea. Use that extra time that you have to brainstorm yourself. Then if you get stuck, ask the AI, but don't start with the AI. Like don't begin there. Like maybe finish there, right? So it's bad, obviously, for replacing your thinking, replacing your writing, and replacing your learning. Okay, and I'm going to get into that a little bit more with writing in just a second. Okay, so remember, this is my point. I've said it before and I want to say it again. If everyone in your class used ChatGPT or DeepSeek or Gemini or whatever, and everyone turned in AI essays, AI written essays, right? What would happen? Eventually, everyone's writing sounds the same. And this is exactly what I notice in student writing. It's incredibly boring, incredibly dull, incredibly predictable. Okay, so the students who are going to stand out in the future are the ones who don't use AI because they're not using the ideas that are spoon-fed to them from the AI. They're using their own minds. They're thinking about things in a unique perspective, right? Everyone can use AI. It's a great equalizer. So if you're a really low-level student and then you're a higher level student and you both use AI, you suddenly the lower level student is raised up and the higher level student is actually, I think, brought down in many ways. But you're generating the same thing. And for a teacher, suddenly everyone is like a B student, right? So the valuable people will be those who can think independently, right? And use AI too, but not as a substitute for their own judgment. Like there's a place for it. Like I said, when we're busy or we're stuck or we need to bounce ideas off someone, right? But think about that. The person reading it has probably seen that idea before, and they're not going to be interested in what you're saying. So some AI rules: think first, prompt second. Don't start with the AI, right? Never submit something you couldn't explain yourself. Okay, it's really the teacher will then bring you in and say, can you explain what you meant by this? You know, what did you mean by this relationship you expressed in this essay? And you have no idea, right? Fact check everything, especially your sources, because it can't really do footnotes. It can't actually do quotes very well. This is often how I catch students, crazy quotes from the story that aren't in the story at all. Right? You're using AI to improve your work, not replace it, obviously. And this is key for me. Your ideas are worth more than perfect grammar. You know, as a teacher, when I see things that are imperfect, I value it, especially in English or in social studies, because imperfection is human. And that's where we start to get curious and explore and learn. So grammar is worth a small part of your mark, actually. So yes, it's going to sound perfect, but like, who cares, right? So let's imagine you write something and then prompt it to see if it's similar. This is, I think, is really good. Like, so let's imagine you write an essay. It's your own, right? And then you ask ChatGPT, write the same essay, write the same essay topic. And let's imagine your ideas are almost exactly the same. Now, you didn't cheat. You just happened to come up with the same ideas. That actually means you should probably be thinking harder. Like you're just thinking very average. And many other people in the class are also going to have that same idea because they're using chatbots, right? So that's a great way to use it. Am I being original? Am I being creative? So write the essay, then have ChatGPT take the same essay prompt. For example, write an essay about the effects of social media. You say, wow, like the exact same arguments, you know, maybe think harder. Okay. All right. What about having it give you the answer and then trying to humanize it? This is what a lot of students try to do, right? They say like, give me the answers, and then I'm going to work backwards. I'm going to take the answers, and then I'm going to try and put it in my own words. Okay. You're starting from average. You're starting from a B at best, right? Because it's giving you the predictable thing, and then you're trying to make it human. Why not just start with being a human and then maybe improving it from there? Okay. So if you ask it for some ideas or to write your answer, it's giving you a framework that is average. So you're trying to improve something or humanize something that's already very basic. Okay. What about having it rewrite or improve your ideas? Okay, so you're like, I wrote this sentence, but it's not sophisticated enough, it's not advanced enough, right? This is going to be easily caught, right? Because it changes the length of your sentences, right? It tries to improve clarity. And in that process, it removes your creative thumbprint. It removes your voice, your writing voice. And yes, it's going to read more smoothly, but believe me, no one's going to want to read it, right? You've replaced something interesting with something boring and dull. Okay. I find like student answers, for example, like they're almost always the same length. So question 1 will be this long. Question 2 will be this long. Question 3 will be this long. Like they're exactly the same length. That's not human, right? Sometimes we have more things to say about one topic and less about another. That's normal. That's fine. How about sentences that are almost equally the same length in a paragraph? Every sentence being 20 words. Like that's not how humans write. So it's incredibly clear, but that's not enough, right? And then finally, as I've mentioned before, and I'm going over the same points just to make sure that you catch it, it's since everyone has access to the AI tools, right? What skills or traits are actually going to make you stand out in the future? Right? It's the things that aren't prompted by AI. Because if we're in a meeting and the boss says, "What do you think about this?" and you check your phone, you say, "I think this." The guy or girl beside you has the exact same tool. You're not offering anything of importance. And so then you have no value to that company. And so when you're a student, it's the chance or opportunity to develop those critical thinking skills and in the moment be able to offer something to a friend, to a teacher, to a boss that isn't just predictable or average, right? So my advice to you is do as much writing without AI as possible, even in your school environments. If you're grade 10 and grade 11, in Canada, like we only take your top grades when we apply for university. We don't really look at your grade 10 grades. That's a time for you to be practicing and developing and who cares about being perfect? Like boring, especially when it comes to your writing. Even in university, as long as you're getting a B, no one's looking at your first year university writing. You should be really focused on developing your own opinions and thinking and creative thought patterns. That's going to serve you for a lifetime. That's going to set you up for a lifetime. If you think like a chatbot or rely on a chatbot, you're replaceable. And your essay is unreadable or the teacher doesn't care. And today it's your teacher, tomorrow it's your boss, right? So something to think about. All right, that's all I have to say about that. Does anyone have any thoughts or questions about anything? Also, I will say I use ChatGPT to help organize that. Okay, so right, I'm using it, but I'm also using it in such a way that it maintains my creativity. So yeah. Anyways, Jennifer, did you mention Iris was going to do something?
Yeah, thank you, Gary, for sharing. So, Iris, as a students, can do a reflection to us and for the future, because all our students are in grade 11 or grade 12, hopefully and also I know, why do I have this semester, to be honest. So I also, serve some students when they get into the university, especially the first year are very tough. So students, the mark, if they are very low, let's say it's like the GPA, it's not like a 50, it's pass. So sometimes if you cannot satisfy the special mark, you cannot get into the second year and you cannot get into your program. So 50 is not like it's not like a good mark in the university, right? And also, I also have some students, they met with some situation was, so they using the AI so to write the essay and figure it out by the professor. And at that time, the professor will give the warning, or the worst case, the students gonna be suspended. So which is very, very serious problem. Okay, so nowadays, I would rather to telling the students to please prepare when you are in the when you are in the high school. So because in the university, they're gonna have very, very smart AI checking tools to detect how much percent of your work are made by the AI. So, and if you don't know like how to avoid this, or you don't like have a good foundation, that will be tough for the first year study in the university. Like I mentioned, so university, the most important thing is not like you just get a 50 pass. So sometimes the program they needed the student to satisfy, let's say maybe you at least you get like a 70% or 68% or above that. So studying in the university, the mark is not like very easy to get. Okay, so that's what I'm saying. And also during the past couple months, we have students when they submitting the online things, they are using the AI things. Also, I want to let our students know that it's really make no sense for our students to marking your AI work. It's it's really, really time consuming and also not good for you as well. And also we are inspected high school, which inspected by the Ministry of Education. So we have the inspector also will check our students' work as well. If our school reputation is pretty good. We have the students, they have the offer from the U of T, they have the offer from the Waterloo engineering, okay, and also we have the students, they have the offer from like health science, like a related program as well. And also we have students, they got offer from the United States University as well. So we're trying to build up like a good reputation. So, and also we can also help you guys to reach your dream university offer goal. Okay. So please do your best and try hard in this summer, and hopefully you guys have a good luck in the coming September university application. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was gonna say just one more thing about that. You know, some students will run their work through AI checkers online and it'll say 0%. As a teacher, I have other ways of detecting your AI and not just that. Okay, so the first thing students will say was, well, it's 0%. I like, and then it's not the only tool teachers are using. There's many more. So if your
Exactly.
only way of doing it is running it through a free AI checker online, that's not enough. Okay, so just be aware.
Yeah. Thank you, Gary. And
Yeah.
how about Aris? Did he have like a, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so I mean from the seminar it was great. Thank you, Mr. Mays, for such an informative seminar. I'm sure everyone learned a lot from it. In my opinion, I think AI is like, I'm very like ambiguous on AI because I think like on one side it's like it's good if you use it correctly, but on the other hand, I feel like there's an increasing epidemic of people who don't know how to use it correctly, and then so we're losing like important critical thinking skills. But overall, I thought that this seminar was great. Yeah, thank you so much for everyone's time.
Okay,
That's it.
thank you. Yeah. Okay. So right now, thank you, Gary. I'm gonna set up like the breakout room, and each students you gonna go to your room like separately. So the teacher as well. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Bye.
Bye bye. Hello, Eva. Which class are you in? Hello? Yeah, I already set up like the breakout room, so it's like already also sending the invitation. So, okay, Bruce, please join the breakout room. Eh? Hello, Eva. Hello, Eva and Lou. Which students have the class? If you don't have class, you just like leave the meeting.